Today, we're diving deep into a question I get all the time. Is intermittent fasting safe for women? And how does it compare to regular calorie restriction, especially for hormones, metabolism, and even brain health? There's a lot of information and confusion online. So, we're going to break down actual research, including data on women's reproductive hormones and some fascinating findings on the neuroprotective effects of fasting and calorie restriction. Okay, but let's zoom out. Which is better for weight loss and metabolic health? Intermittent fasting or simply eating fewer calories across the whole day? A 2024 meta analysis compared fasting based strategies and continuous calorie restriction across 10 randomized controlled trials. The results: both groups lost 5.5 to 6.5 kilograms at 6 months. However, the fasting insulin dropped more significantly in the quote unquote fasting group. Lean mass, weight circumference, blood pressure, lipids, and glucose all improved similarly. Now, given that up to 40% of US adults, and I'm sure this is true across the globe, show signs of insulin resistance, many without even realizing it, intermittent fasting might be the smarter alternative, especially for people with insulin resistance or prediabetes. So the conclusion here: intermittent fasting isn't better per se, but it may bring distinct metabolic advantages, particularly for people with insulin resistance or prediabetes. Now, let's go deeper because this is where things get really interesting. How does fasting impact the brain? A huge body of neuroscience shows that both intermittent fasting and calorie restriction may have neuroprotective effects. Why? Because they trigger adaptive stress responses known as hormesis. Hormesis equals small, controlled stress, which results in stronger, more resilient cells. Just like exercise challenges your muscles, fasting challenges your brain. I'll give you an analogy. If your house has never been broken into, you probably don't think about an alarm system. You might even leave your door unlocked. But the moment it happens to you or somebody nearby, everything changes. You install an alarm system, you prepare, you build resilience. Your brain works in the exact same way. If it constantly has sugar and calories available, it never needs to adapt. There's no challenge, no reason to evolve. But during fasting or nutrient scarcity, your brain flips genetic switches designed to protect itself. This response is built into your biology. Key pathways that are activated during hormesis include CREB, which is a gene pathway that boosts learning and memory; NRF2, this is a pathway that activates antioxidant defenses; and then NF kappa B, this regulates inflammation. So when these are switched on, your neurons repair themselves, inflammation drops, brain cells become stronger and more resistant to damage. Stress isn't always the enemy. Sometimes it's the signal to evolve. Okay, when it comes to brain aging and cognitive decline, one of the biggest culprits or major players is the mitochondria. The mitochondria, you've probably heard of this before, is where your energy is made. It's the energy factories of your cells. And they're also the biggest source of reactive oxygen species. So we all know what cellular respiration is. You take oxygen, you add food, the result is energy, water, and carbon dioxide. And this process is facilitated in your mitochondria, meaning the chemical reaction happens within your mitochondria primarily. However, your mitochondria, these factories, they're leaky, and those leaks produce reactive oxygen species. Think of your mitochondria as a faucet. When it's brand new, there are no leaks. But over time, wear and tear causes leaks. Except in your brain, it's not water that's leaking. It's closer to a corrosive acid leaking onto your neurons, slowly damaging them over time. This mitochondrial dysfunction, which accumulates with age, is strongly linked with cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases. But there are things that you can do to slow down this wear and tear, this decline. So this is where fasting shines. Fasting and calorie restriction help protect your mitochondria in three major ways. One, they decrease the oxidative stress, less damage to DNA, to your proteins, to your lipids. Fasting also improves mitochondrial efficiency. You have cleaner energy production. There's less of this oxidative waste or reoxygen oxygen species being made, and your mitochondria behave more like the brand new faucet again. Lastly, they boost neurotropic factor. These are factors, gene products, proteins, you can think of them as, that your brain turns on and starts to produce. Some of these you've probably heard of, like BDNF, brain derived neurotropic factor. There's also NT3, GDNF. These are essential for learning, memory, and neuronal survival. Think of these as your miracle grow for your brain. Another powerful result of fasting is the upregulation of chaperone proteins, including heat shock proteins, which are activated during things that are stressful, like fasting, cold exposure, heat exposure, or even intense exercise. Their job? Repair cellular damage and optimize efficiency when energy, nutrients, is limited. Companies always say, do more with less. Chaperone proteins are the biological versions of that motto. So, what do they actually do? They help by preventing misfolded proteins. They clear toxic aggregates or proteins that build up that are misfolded. They protect against Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Huntington's. And they support anti-apoptotic, just means that as opposed to a neuron being told or programmed to die, it activates anti-death cellular programs to keep those neurons alive. Basically, fasting helps your brain clean house, and chaperone proteins are the cleanup crew. I wish I had one of those for my house. Intermittent fasting also boosts ketone production, especially beta hydroxybutyrate, which doesn't just provide energy. It changes how your brain functions at the mitochondrial level. So, how does keto protect the brain? It activates many of the same pathways as fasting, and there are even real world examples. In Parkinson's models, ketones protected dopamine producing neurons. In Alzheimer's patients, MCTs, which are precursor to making ketones, improved memory. So, what does all of this mean for women? A recent study looked at how an 8-hour eating window affected key reproductive hormones after 8 weeks of time restricted eating. There was no changes to the major sex hormones. Now, DHEA dropped by about 14%. DHEA is interesting because fertility clinics often prescribe it to improve ovarian function. It naturally declines with age. It's a precursor to estrogen. And high DHEA has been linked to increased breast cancer risk. So, what does this drop mean? For premenopausal women, researchers said that the small decrease may be outweighed by the benefit of lowering body fat for fertility, metabolic health, and menstrual regularity. For postmenopausal women, they noted that even though DHEA is a key estrogen precursor, participants didn't report estrogen related side effects like skin changes, dryness, or sexual dysfunction. And importantly, moderate reductions in DHEA may actually help reduce the risk of breast cancer. So, overall, hormones were stable with one change, DHEA, that may either be neutral or beneficial depending on the context. Intermittent fasting and calorie restriction are not magic. They're not quick fixes. They are a biological signal, a signal that tells your body it's time to adapt. I want to get stronger. I want to protect my brain, my hormones, and my health long term. The research is clear. Hormones remain stable even in women. Insulin sensitivity improves. The brain becomes more resilient. Mitochondria work cleaner. Neurons live longer. Your body is not fragile. It is adaptive. It is responsive. It is designed to evolve when gently challenged. That is what fasting really represents. Not restriction, not punishment, but an invitation for your body to upgrade. There is no one size fits all answer. But if you're a woman curious about fasting, the research doesn't say don't do it. It says Do it intelligently, do it progressively, and do it with an understanding of your biology. If you found this information helpful or interesting, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell button to get notified when new content is out. Are you finally ready to take your health into your own hands, but you're not sure where to start? Start here. I've put together a free workout video meant to be your first step to a stronger and healthier you. It's simple, it's effective, and you can do it right from home. No equipment required. Click the link, try the workout, and let's begin this journey together.